From San Diego, California, this is a One Extraordinary Marriage Show, where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex has taken the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. I'm Tony DeLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call on the Hug Hotline at 858-876-5663. That's 858-876-5663. In today's show, we talk about what you can do to honor the words you spoke on your wedding day through tough times and good times.
And I want you to think about this quote from Sam Keen. Sam said, "You come to love not by finding the perfect person, but by learning to love an imperfect person perfectly."
Ooh, yeah, big.
Whoa, that gets to the heart of, honoring those words that you say on your wedding day. And we're going to dig deep into that in today's show. But we love to start each and every One Extraordinary Marriage Show with a hug. We love sharing with each one of you the success stories that other couples are finding, the breakthroughs that they're having.
Yes.
And this week's hug is sponsored by Canvas People. And
one of our favorites. Yes.
You can check them out at canvaspeople.com. And what we love is that Canvas People has a very, very easy to use photo to canvas service that takes those favorite photo memories and turns them into beautiful artwork that you can hang anywhere in your home, that you can give as gifts. It's such a way to take, all of those images that are stored on your phone, because let's face it, I just went and cleared out mine this past weekend and there's well over 2,000 photos.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you look at that and you're like, okay, how can I take those files, those pictures that are just, like digital images, and get them up on our walls?
That's right.
Right. To get those memories out of the phone and onto the wall. And so, we tell you guys all the time, hey, take pictures of yourselves on date nights, right? Make sure you got those couple pictures. Well, these are the ways to get those pictures where you can see them and enjoy them. And the great thing about Canvas People is that they have served over 1 million customers. Right? They're taking care of people. Their high quality canvas is made right here in the US. They have fast shipping and their attention to detail is top notch.
That's right.
Top notch. So they have a special for all of you in the one family. Now, normally their 11 by 14 canvases are priced at $69.99, but just for you, the one family, they've got a offer for one free 11 by 14 canvas. You're just going to pay the shipping. Guys, that's a smoking deal. And this time of year, as you're getting ready to, Thanksgiving, and you're looking at Christmas and the holidays that are just literally, it's right around the corner, folks. Be thinking now and take advantage of this offer so that you can gift to somebody, your loved one, this offer. So don't miss out. Get yours today at canvaspeople.com, promo code marriage. And I'm just curious, what picture will you use for this free canvas? Be thinking about that throughout this show. Now, this week's hug comes from an email that we recently received. And this writer says, "Hey, Tony and Elisa, I got engaged in March of this year and I'm getting married next week. I wanted to begin listening to something that would help me grow and prepare for this new season of life that I'm about to enter into. I've been listening to your podcast for about 5 months now. I discovered it as I was on the hunt for some solid Christian marriage material. I didn't want to go into our marriage without having knowledge and tools to lean on."
Wise.
So smart. I wish we'd been that smart. As soon as I began listening to your podcast, I was hooked. You two have given me everything that I was looking for in advice. Even though your podcasts aren't directed towards engaged couples, they have still provided me with an immense amount of knowledge and have impacted me greatly. I've learned so much more than I could have hoped for during my engagement season.
Right on.
Listening to you guys has helped me to realize a lot of qualities in myself that I needed to begin shaping now for the better. Oh my gosh, I do not know who the lucky guy is on the other side of this email, but Holy cow.
Come on.
Their marriage is going to be off and running because here's a couple that's just doing the work beforehand. I love this. She goes on to say, "I've listened to your podcast almost every day. I've been using it to prepare my heart, mind, and soul for the new journey that I'm taking on. I showed it to my soon-to-be husband, and we have both agreed that your podcast is something we want to continuously have in our marriage. Wow. Thank you guys so much for the passion that you have, the encouragement that you bring, and the example that you set. I love you guys."
Well, we love you guys too, and it's truly an honor and a blessing to have you part of the one family.
And, speaking about this hug and just that excitement about what's coming on and just the sharing, we have a very important show that's going to be coming up here in just a few weeks. And it is show number 400.
Our 400th show.
Which will actually,
I can't believe it.
It's going to air on Halloween 2017. And so here's the thing. That show, like every 100th show, so 100, 200, 300, now 400, is all hugs.
It's all about the one family. It's about you.
So if you want to make sure that your hug has an opportunity to be on that show, and we're going to get through as many of them as we can, because we know we've even got folks in the Position of the Month Club that have already started sending theirs in.
Yeah.
You want to send an email to info@oneextraordinarymarriage.com, subject 400th show, or you can call in on the hug hotline, the 858-876-5663. Share your hug.
Yeah.
Share it there. And like I said, 400th show airing on October 31st. And what a great way to possibly share the One Extraordinary Marriage show with a friend, because it's going to be a show all about breakthrough and hugs.
And like we do every hug on every show, it's anonymous. We don't put out names. We don't put where you live. So we just go through them one after another, and it's about you guys and what has happened in your life and where you're headed. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be 100% there, folks. Hugs aren't for people who are 100% there. Elisa and I have been doing this show for almost 8 years now. Guess what? You hear it. You've been on the journey. We're not 100% there, but we're constantly growing, we're achieving, and that's what we want to hear from you. Just your truth, honest heart of where you are right now, where you've been, and that's all it is. Do it as quickly as you can, because we'll have a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And if it's a long one, that's okay. We'll
pull out snippets.
Yep. And that works.
So here's the thing, on top of the fact that we're going to have our 400th show here at the end of October, this week is another anniversary. It happens to be our 21st wedding anniversary.
Yep.
So October 2017, who knew it was going to be so big, right? But, we get really reflective each year around our anniversary, because for us, it's that time. And I think for a lot of people, it's that time to think about, where your marriage has been and where you're going this next year, right? It's the birthday of your marriage, right? And people on birthdays get reflective, right? Like, where have I been in my life? What's the next year going to look like? And so that same thing comes out in marriage, because it's the birthday, it's the anniversary of the day that the two of you said I do, and the words that the two of you spoke to one another that day. And, quite honestly, we're going on 21 years, and just, if you guys want to do a little math, Tony and I got married when we were 22 and 23. And I will tell you that we honestly had no idea what we were speaking to each other when we said our wedding vows.
No, not at all.
It was a couple of minutes of, I promise you this, for better, for poor, for richer, for worse, or for better, for worse, for richer, for poor.
In sickness and in health.
In sickness and in health, as long as life shall last. And it was just enough to get to the good part, right? Like, can we get to the, I now pronounce you husband and wife?
So we can kiss, and then hopefully have an awesome party, and then shoo everybody away so we could have sex that night.
Right. And so we did not know on that day, October 5th, 1996, that when we agreed to for better or for worse, and for richer or for poor, that there were going to be things like, oh yeah, you've got to deal with Tony's pornography addiction. Mm-hmm. That he's bringing into your marriage. We didn't know that day that for richer or for poorer was going to mean that, what was it, like 12 years in? I don't remember now. We're going to lose a house. No,
16 years
16
in.
years in.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2012.
Yep.
Right? We didn't know that. We didn't know that 8 years in, we were going to be facing the loss of a child. Right? Those 20-somethings that got married, and I don't care if you get married when you're 20-something, 30-something, 50-something, you don't know what's coming down. We didn't know that we were going to move 10 times in those 20 years. We didn't know that we were going to have layoffs. We didn't know that there was going to be a season where our marriage was sexless.
And I even think of times of unsettledness. When I ended up hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, taking a 6-month sabbatical, just leaving for 6 months, which led to the first time we almost got divorced. Mm-hmm. But, those are times that we didn't know when we said I do. The changing atmosphere that we live in, or the different churches we would attend, and all those pieces that, having children. And for those of you who've been listening since the beginning, or wherever you started listening, and to our new listeners, welcome to the One Family. It's an honor and blessing to have you here. But having kids, this year's a new year for us, with one going into high school, one going into middle school. I mean, wow, the changes that happen. And for those of you who are older and have gone through that, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where these were all the things that we didn't know. What we did know back on that day, we knew that we were in love and we knew that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. We just didn't know in that moment what was going to be required of us to honor those words.
Mm-hmm. Because it's very easy now, especially in our day, even where you don't have social media to show everything. But even back then, you would see our peers getting married, the joyous times, all of that. Mm-hmm. And very few ever talked about anything that was negative. And even we see that today. And that's why when we started the One Extraordinary Marriage show is honestly to be open, honest, and transparent, mm-hmm. because we want you guys to know that marriage isn't always riding on a high. You're going to go through seasons, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to go through some times and some difficulty and some good times too. Those are seasons of reaping. And hey, amen to those as well.
Absolutely. And as we jump into the show, I just want to get us all working on the same page as far as the definition of honor, right? Because it's a word that, gets tossed around a lot. We live in a military community. Honor is one of those things that, mm-hmm. that we hear quite a bit. And, just so we're all working on the same page, but to honor someone means, one of the definitions is to regard with great respect. Another definition is to fulfill an obligation or keep an agreement. And I think when we're talking about honoring those words that we speak on our wedding day, when we say those words, those vows, they're not just something to hold space during the wedding ceremony. In all honesty, that was my perspective. I'm like, okay, yeah. I know I've got to do the for better, for worse. I just got to do it, right? And it's not just something to make the people in the seats squirm a little bit like, okay, already, so great. You wrote your own vows. Can we get to the party? Right? That's not the purpose of them. The vows are there to let everyone that is in attendance, including yourselves, know exactly what's being promised. What are you vowing to fulfill? What is the agreement that you're making with your spouse? And this idea of wedding vows, as old as marriage itself, right? They're a promise to the covenant of your relationship. And I'll tell you guys, it's one thing to stand up in front of friends and family and profess those words of love and agreement over the span of a couple of minutes, right? Because that's about how long it takes.
Yeah.
Even
if you did your own, maybe you got to 5,
maybe 10,
7,
whatever.
10. Yeah, maybe.
Guys, it's a whole nother aspect to act on those commitments for the next 26,280,000 minutes. Think about that. That's the equivalent of 50 years in minutes. 26,280,000 minutes that you have the opportunity to honor. Each one of those minutes is an opportunity to honor the agreement that you made on your wedding day. And for better or for worse, it's not just a sweet little phrase, right? It's not. I mean,
no, it's not.
It means that I'm still going to love you when I don't especially like you. And I will tell you, Tony and I had our coffee break today and I let out a little peeve. I mean, it was just there and I was just, part of the coffee break, for those of you that have picked it up, knows that there's an area area of recent frustrations.
Mm-hmm. And if you're wondering where you can get the coffee break, you can go to shop.oneextraordinarymarriage.com and you'll see it in the one toolbox. It's an awesome report and it's something that we've done for a while now and getting really back into it, and it's really made a shift in our marriage.
But so we're there, and so I've had a couple of times this past week when I haven't particularly liked Tony, and it seems really silly, but I walk into the kitchen and there are dishes everywhere. I'm like, can no one in my house, and everyone in my house is old enough and tall enough to be able to either put dishes in a dishwasher, and I'm just like, please just put your stuff. I don't like it when I walk into the kitchen. It's the only area of the house where I'm anal, guys. Seriously, I have piles in my office, piles in the closet, but the kitchen, yes. I want the kitchen clean. And those were the places where I didn't like Tony, right? And we've had much bigger places where we haven't liked each other, where we've been in financial crisis, and the like factor in our marriage, way, way low. There was one Christmas that is duly recorded on the One Extraordinary Marriage show where I way overspent Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And January, I think we probably had 2 or 3 shows talking about financial intimacy because Tony did not particularly like me when we had to do our family budget in January. You remember that?
Heck yeah, I do. I remember that. I mean, how could I not?
Right? That's the for better or for worse, right? Times when we don't like each other.
And I want to even say one thing, even right now, in this moment in time in our marriage, we've been talking about our coffee break, and we've been talking about the intimacy lifestyle and just what we've been dealing with. But even looking at that again, and on my side, talking to Elisa about what does initiate even look like on your side anymore? Because I can't even tell, you know? And so for better or for worse, right? Are we going to honor those vows that we set on that day? And for many of you who are living the intimacy lifestyle, you understand what I'm saying. It's ever moving, it's ever flowing, and you're going to have to learn through it, you know, the good things and the not so good things. And so even right now in our own marriage, we look at that and we're like, okay, man, it's not working out. And there are times when I will be in bed and it's a Friday night, and that's her last night to initiate. And I'll tell you, I'll put on a little pouty face. You know, I'll just read my book. I'm not going to make any mention. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to just do my thing and yep, honey. And I'm going to sit there and read and let her initiate in one way or another. And I will have to say there have been a few where it doesn't happen 100%, or it's me having to go, hey, is tonight Friday? Because I'm thinking it is, you know? And hey, we can get trivial and you guys can be going, oh, well, that's just so minor. Yes, it is. But we put that down together as a promise to say, hey, you know what? We're going to honor this time together. What does that look like for us? And we did that 8 years ago, and we've been living it out. So, you know, this goes into every area of your marriage.
Absolutely. You know, and the for better for worse also takes into account, or has to take into account, the fact that you're going to experience some really crazy and unexpected and devastating circumstances in your marriage. Right. It's like I was sharing with this group of women at the Sexy Mama Movement Back to School Day Out that I was speaking at this past weekend. And I shared with them, I would love to stand up in front of an audience or get behind these mics and tell you, you know what? We've had 21 amazing, wonderful, perfect, never had a problem, never had a fight, rainbows and unicorn years. That would be lying so big that my Pinocchio nose would probably go outside the office. Right? We've had devastating seasons. We've had seasons where we're just like, really, what else can possibly happen? And yet, for better or for worse, means that we have to figure out a way to stay unified, in that we don't get the luxury of being like, well, I'm just going to check out.
You know what I'm going to say on that?
I don't know. What are you going to say?
What I'm going to say is, and because we have a number of friends in our circle who are starting to get married or have been getting married. And in this day and age, everybody has their own hashtag, especially when they're getting married. It's like,
well, the minute I don't think you can get engaged now without a hashtag.
Okay. So whatever the hashtag is, I don't know what they do anymore. Elisa will tell me. I don't really see them, but here's what in that manner, what I think we need to look at is people are doing that. Like the person who wrote in the hug, talking about getting married here in the week. I bet you they had some sort of hashtag leading up to their marriage. We need to do that in our own marriages, folks. Like we need to have our own hashtags, like hashtag Team DeLorenzo, hashtag Team Smith, Team Jones, Team whatever your last name is. And I think that's something we really need to understand, because the more we write those things down, the more we say those things, it changes how we view our marriage. It changes how we view our spouse.
Right.
Because we've spoken this before, words have an impact. Words can change the way you live your life. The words you speak to yourself and the words you speak over your spouse. You know? And so if we're always looking at each other as on opposing sides, that's going to impact us. And when I talked about Elisa and I looking at our intimacy lifestyle, me huffing and puffing, you better believe it. It was at our next coffee break that I brought it up.
Right.
Because we're going to get back on the same team. Because, we're Team DeLorenzo here, and we're going to have to talk about these tough areas that we don't want to. And believe me, I didn't want to that day. I was sort of like, oh, it's a nice sunny San Diego day. We're just sitting out here on the patio of a Starbucks. It's beautiful. And yet it needs to be brought up because we're on that same team, and the words we speak to each other are to strengthen us.
Well, and let's look at this, because honoring your words, honoring those vows, that's a commitment to put your marriage first, right? It's a commitment to make decisions that are going to divorce-proof your marriage. It's a commitment to put selflessness into your marriage and to pull the selfishness out of it, right? We got married 21 years ago. At 15, we renewed our wedding vows, and we actually wrote our vows for the vow renewal. And, they looked a lot different than the first ones, the first time around in 1996, right? And yet, as we prepare to enter this next year of marriage, and having been through so much in this year, I actually think, as we prepare for this, that the vows that we would write now would look even different from the ones we wrote 6 years ago.
Oh, most definitely.
Right? And we want to share with you some of the things that we would say or will say this time around. And we'll share that in a minute. But before we do, I want to remind you to take advantage of that incredible offer from Canvas People, canvaspeople.com. Get that free 11 by 14 canvas when you use promo code marriage at canvaspeople.com. You're only going to pay shipping and handling. And it's going to be such a great opportunity to get that picture of the two of you off your phone and onto your wall. So don't miss out on this, guys.
Nope.
Seriously. Christmas is coming. Do it now and just think, oh my gosh, it's one less Christmas present I have to worry about.
Christmas, birthday, anniversary, heck, it could be a date night surprise if you're putting on an extravagant date night for your spouse. Think about it. Grab it. No kidding. Canvaspeople.com. Make sure you put that promo code marriage, though, to get that free canvas and just pay for shipping.
So what would we say now? One of the things I think I've come to realize after 21 years is that my promise to love you is to love you as you are, not the person that I think you should be. Right? Because there are a lot of us that are still hoping after, 1, 2, 20, 30 years of marriage, gosh, I wish that he would just, or I wish that she was just, instead of looking at the person that you have now and loving them and saying, you know what, I'm going to love you for the person that you are. And I'm going to pour my love into you because I do have a vision of who you can become and the dreams that you carry in your heart, but I'm going to love you there. I'm not going to love some future self that isn't our current reality, right? I just like the quote at the beginning, I'm going to promise to remember that you're not perfect, right? There are a lot of times that my expectations for Tony, or I'm sure his expectations for me, fall into that perfection range, right? Like if you were perfect, this wouldn't be an issue, right? Like Elisa, if you were perfect, you wouldn't have piles all over our house.
Yes.
Wow. That one always hits a chord, and it's just woven into the show. If you're brand new to the One Family, you'll hear about my paper piles.
I'm telling you, this is why I love moving. I love that first week of when we move, because guess what? Elisa does not have time in that first week to make piles. That is what I love about moving.
Plus, every time we move, we purge a lot of stuff, so that makes him happy too.
We're into the second week. Piles have begun. That's all. But I do, Elisa brought this one up, and it is a tough one, I think, for many of us. Because again, when we go back to seeing our friends and what they're doing, we always see the perfect. Mm-hmm. And too often, we always see people where they're at, and we wonder why we can't be there. And I'll raise my hand. Why can't I be there? Why have I been doing, what I've been doing for so long, and I'm not here or there? And look at that person over there who's on stage, and I should be there. But they've gone through their own journey, just like we are going through our own, and you're going through yours, right? And so it's where you're at, and you got to honor that time, man. You got to. I woke up with the other day just realizing that, man, I'm losing days. I'm losing time wondering about how I can do everything and not just enjoying these moments right now in front of me.
And that other part of perfection is that while your spouse may not be perfect, he or she is perfect for you. Mm-hmm. Right. And it goes back to, like Tony was talking about, the team DeLorenzo hashtag, right? If the two of you are a team, you'll play to each other's strengths. And that's where you become perfect for each other, right, when you're playing to those strengths. Another promise that I need to continuously be reminding myself of and to actually honor with my words is that I do promise to love Tony throughout the day, every day. Because sometimes I, will be the first to raise my hand and I say, I willingly allow myself or willingly choose distraction over connection. And that equals disconnect.
And we have many of those moments.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's even in preparing for this show, thinking about our anniversary, going, you know what, I need to step up my game on honoring that commitment to express love to Tony in the way that he's going to receive it, not in the way that I want to receive it. Whole 5 love languages, another topic, but in the way that works for him, right? I promise to love and respect him and support him through the different seasons of our lives. And this is one that has definitely been in play the last 6 months. Right? Where we've been here, there, and everywhere trying to figure out life. And there's been a huge need for shifts and support in our marriage.
This is a big one. And over time, this becomes bigger and bigger, I believe, because, hey, it's easy to love, respect, and support somebody when they're just doing everything you want them to do.
Or when things are good.
When things are good. Man, it's a whole nother thing to love, respect, and support somebody when they're not doing what you want them to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're not in that place that you think they should be in. And I was there in July after the passing of my dad. I mean, that month, I can't even remember it.
Mm.
And so for Elisa to say, I promise to love, respect, and support you through all seasons, that was a tough season and still something I bear and deal with my mom still alive here. But having that support through that time, just loving me, even though, like I said, I cannot remember. I honestly woke up on August 1st and looked at Elisa and I was like, I have no clue what just happened. Just none. But I can remember. The one thing I do remember is her support throughout, just loving on me throughout that time, not being bitter, not, complaining because I was running up to my mom's, 2-3 times a week or what have you. That is huge, 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 huge. And guys, we need to do that as well with our wives as they're going through transitions in their own lives. And I think the biggest transition is when they're bearing children and having children. And I didn't do that back in the day when my kids were young or when at least I had our kids.
We won't go into it on this show, but
nope, we won't.
But we should talk about that on a future show.
We should.
That's so funny. But a couple, just to wrap it up here, the last one that I want to share with each one of you is, I promise to give you the best of myself today, tomorrow, and forever. The fact is that neither one of us or the two of you in your marriage can do anything about what's happened in the past. You can't change it. You can't rewrite it. You can't do anything about it. But will you promise? Will you commit? Will you honor the words? I promise to give you the best of me today, tomorrow, and forever. Will you be forward thinking? Will you live in the present moment? And will you say, you know what? I don't want to be mediocre in my marriage. I don't want us to have an okay or a good marriage. I want us to have an extraordinary marriage. And the way that starts is if I start bringing my best to our relationship. And if you both start bringing your best, starting today, the day that you listen to this show, when you say, you know what, we are going to honor our words. We are going to step into this next year together, wherever you are. I don't care if you're 6 months into this year or 2 months or, your anniversary was last week. I don't care.
Or 20 plus years.
Doesn't matter. Will you commit to giving your best to your love? Because I promise you that if you commit to giving your best, you will have an extraordinary marriage. Two people giving their best, you can't help but be extraordinary.
Nope. So, wow. I love it when we talk about our vows because they're such a foundational piece of our marriages. They just are. And here's the thing. You don't need to hit some magical year to renew your vows. You don't need to wait till your 10th, your 15th, your 5th, your 50th. Man, you guys can write these this week and share them with each other on your next date. Go at it. Make a commitment this week to write down 5 things that you promise this week. to commit to your spouse, those vows that you're going to look to and towards them as you move forward in your lives. We love you guys. We thank you for all your support and your love. We are looking forward to hearing your hugs on the 400th show. So don't forget to get those in at info@oneextraordinarymarriage.com or call us at 858-876-5663. It's going to be so amazing to hear your words of wisdom here on the One Extraordinary Marriage Show. We love you guys. Have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you next week. Love you guys.